Hello, Tim from Fairplay now on the 22nd of May 2023. No videos from me for the last couple of days, but back now, and I want to talk a little bit about the cognitive dissonance going on. I'm not really going to elaborate anymore on exactly what I'm talking about, what the cognitive dissonance is surrounding, but you can probably guess. And it's just ridiculous. Even after all this time, there's just so many people out there who can't see the problem. And to give you an idea of the level of ridiculousness, and also to save myself from getting into hot water, you know what I'm talking about, I'm going to come up with a bit of an analogy which really does prove that we are in total clown world. The first part of this analogy was, I got the idea from it by one of the speakers at that event I went to in Trafalgar Square. Not this Saturday, only just gone, but the one before that. And then I'm going to kind of carry it on. So let's imagine one of the big aircraft manufacturers, Boeing or Airbus, come out with a brand new aircraft. Let's say it's Airbus, and let's call it the A360. I don't think they've got that one out yet. They haven't used that number yet, and it certainly seems like we're just going around in circles. So we'll call it the A360. And you know, when these aircraft manufacturers design and come out with a new plane, it really takes years, many years, probably decades actually, to go from initial concept on the drawing board to the point where they're flying you to your holiday destination or whatever it might be. And there's so many things that they have to go through, so many hoops they have to jump through before they get to that stage. And rightly so, because you don't want to be getting up there, you know, 30,000 feet in the air to find there's some undisclosed problem that's been overlooked and all of a sudden it's happening up there. But just imagine this scenario. Let's say instead of all this rigorous testing and everything else happening over many years, let's just say literally, like, let's say a year ago, just under a year ago, they decided, yeah, we're going to design and build this new aircraft, the A360 it's going to be called, and they start designing it, they rush it through, and they do absolute minimal amounts of testing. And even what testing they did do, they were kind of cutting corners and doing shortcuts and things on certain aspects of the testing. Didn't even go that well, but they kind of covered it up and said, oh yeah, you know, this aircraft is you know, completely ready to fly now. And so literally under a year, it's gone from drawing board to the first few being built, and with this sort of minimal amount of evaluation time. And the first one rocks up there at Heathrow Airport, and they put a bit of British Airways paint on it or whatever, and there you are, sort of looking out the window, sort of on looking forward to your transatlantic flight, and you see it's one of these new A360s. So knowing what you know about this aircraft, the fact that it's been sort of gone through all of the building processes in ridiculously short amounts of time, would you really want to get on that plane and go on your transatlantic flight? Even though the government are saying, yeah, and the manufacturer, the government, the media, and the experts, whoever they are, clearly not experts because they know bugger all about anything as far as I can see, but they're all saying, yeah, this plane is yeah, perfectly okay, you know, do get on it to go on your holidays, it's not going to be a problem. will you take their word for it, or will you sort of take the, quite honestly, what I would regard as the perfectly reasonable second option of saying, well, this thing's been rushed through, this plane, I'm not so sure about it. Yeah, I think I'll leave it for now. Maybe in 10 years time, if it's not had any accidents, I might go on a flight on one, but I'm certainly not going to bother with this particular model of plane at the moment, thank you very much. But much to your amazement, all of your friends and family and colleagues at work and all sorts of celebs and pretty much the whole world, apart from you and a handful of other people, or what might seem initially at least a handful of other people, they're delighted to go onto this new plane. They think, oh yeah, this is fantastic. It's using all of this new technology, these new composite materials. The wings have been made out of completely new design of engine, which makes the plane go faster and it's more fuel efficient, got a longer range, whereas you might have to stop on a particular journey for refueling. Now you can go all the way through. Yeah, this is fantastic. And they're all sort of lining up at the gates and at the airport there, and the check-in queues and everything, all eager to get on this thing. And you're sort of thinking, really? Anyway, sort of a few months go by and you were a little bit worried that some of these things might start falling out the sky, but then you're hoping that wouldn't happen, of course. But much to your sort of horror, the first one or two fall out of the sky, and then a few more, and there's quite a few people being killed in these air accidents. And you're sort of thinking, blimey, at least people are going to realise that these planes sort of aren't safe. They shouldn't have been designed and built quite so quickly. This sort of news is going to get out and people stop flying on this thing. But much to your horror, instead of that happening, nearly all of the politicians, apart from a handful who do seem to recognise what the problem is and screaming from the rooftops, but most of them are in complete denial. The media are in complete denial. The airlines and the airline companies, the manufacturers, and most of the public are also in complete denial that this A360 plane is frankly a load of rubbish, and you wouldn't want to go on it if your life depended on it. And you just can't believe that despite these things falling out of the sky left, right and centre, and there being all sorts of evidence that this is happening, that people aren't recognising this. And in fact, some people are still very eager to fly on the things. And people like the media and the Prime Minister and your president, maybe if you're from abroad, are saying, yeah, well, okay, maybe sort of the odd one, the very occasional ones falling out of the sky, but it's pilot error. It's certainly not the planes themselves. And you're sort of saying, basically the same thing's happening with every plane. So how can it be pilot error? That's not adding up for me, I'm afraid. But then you're called an absolute crank for kind of coming out with that sort of very obvious statement. So would you be willing, I'm just going to finish this off really, would you be willing to get on a plane like that, one that has been sort of the whole design process has happened really, really fast, and they seem to be kind of going down left, right and centre? Would you really want to go on that kind of plane? Do you think that would even be allowed to happen? without massive amount of outcry, here, there and everywhere. You might get some idiots like Jeremy Vine on the radio saying, yeah, but there's literally tens of millions of people in the UK who fly every year, and a few planes going down and a couple hundred people sort of dying on each crash is a absolute minuscule number compared to the amount of the tens of millions of people just from the UK alone, let alone the rest of the world. The numbers are minuscule, and these air crashes are no reason to stop people flying on this particular type of plane. Well, you'd think the bloke was an idiot, wouldn't you? He is. I'm going to just put that one in there. But if anyone came out with that sort of statement about aircraft and air accidents, you'd just think, what are they on? They're just in complete denial. We know these things are falling out of the sky, so you can't just say just because compared to the amount of people who fly every year that a few hundred people dying is just a minuscule number. It's still a few hundred people who are dying, or a few thousand people who are dying. That would be ridiculous in the aircraft or the aviation world, wouldn't it? Just be an absolute ridiculous thing. And if the Prime Minister or any politician tried making light of it or covering it up and saying it's not the problem that you're saying it is, again, how long would they last? They'd be hounded out of office, I'm sure. And how long would a newspaper last if they weren't reporting on it, or again making light of it and sort of making out that it's not the big deal that everybody knows it is? They'd just be called out so badly as well. So I think what to substitute in place of these aircraft, these ridiculous A360 planes. And but if we kind of put it into the aviation context compared to the contexts I'm actually talking about here, it kind of snaps it into sharp focus and just shows you how ridiculous this situation we're in really is, how crazy it is, absolutely crazy. And I cannot believe that we're still in this stage where we're still going around in these 360-degree circles and not getting anywhere, despite the fact that many people are calling out this thing. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Just a few thoughts on what I'm talking about, and I'll be back tomorrow. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.